Hello, my diamonds, my Teletubbies. Did you know that Generation Z and the Millennials are statistically, that's a tongue twister, statistically the most depressed generations in history? This is a staggering reality that we can't ignore. Let me share these clips with you, and they will come back for reaction purposes and educational purposes. This is for a critical review. Okay, let's listen.
It's like you can't do anything without being afraid of getting canceled these days.
Are millennials and Gen Z lonely because we're too emotionally fragile to handle difficult conversations and form meaningful relationships? The rise of cancel culture and shaming others for their opinions only creates tension and division, making it difficult to have honest conversations. What if we made it okay to respectfully disagree with each other without resorting to shaming or canceling? What if we encouraged open and honest dialogue, even if it's uncomfortable? Let's work together and build a more empathetic and connected society where everyone feels valued and heard. We have to prioritize real-life connections and meaningful conversations.
Now you notice how the millennials are saying they live in the cancel culture, where you just cancel people out because you can't even have honest and open conversations because everyone is so hypersensitive. Everyone is so busy setting up all of these unreasonable boundaries and no one is connecting. Now, I'm a part of the baby boomer. We had boundaries. Yes, we did. Because if you do your research and notice that in the 60s and the 70s, the divorce rate went skyrocketing because we have boundaries. And we had boundaries. We have boundaries. At the same time, we have reasonable boundaries. But when you think about the millennial generation, they want to shame you. They want to cancel you out because you have your own viewpoint and your own opinion. They want you to feel the way they feel, see things the way they see it, and they're using boundaries as a weapon to try to control and dominate people. And this is why the millennials and Generation Z are having a hard time when it comes to making connections. Let's continue. Here are some other reasons why the millennials and Generation Z are so depressed.
You want to know why it seems like millennials and Gen Z are just the most depressed generations ever? It's because we are. But there's a real reason for that. Millennials and Gen Z are honestly the first two generations to see the bullshit for what it was. And not only that, we're the first two generations to actually speak out against the bullshit. Like me, for example. I'm a millennial. I'm a younger millennial. I was born in 1991, which essentially is just 6 years before Gen Z. We were the generation that were told by our Gen X and Boomer parents that if you go to college, get a degree, you graduate, you get a good job, that's all you gotta do, right? So we said, all right, cool. We went to college. We got our degrees and we started to graduate in the late 2000s and early 2010s. And those degrees didn't mean a damn thing. As a result, we looked at our Boomer and Gen X parents like, why the fuck did you lie to us like that? It's not their fault. They technically didn't lie to us because the reality of when they were growing up, yes, degrees actually mattered. In fact, a lot of our parents got turned down for jobs because they didn't have degrees. They just didn't know that the world would change right as they were telling us that. Bro, we are really the transitional guinea pig generation. Like when I was born, VHS and cassette tapes were popular. But when I graduated college, we had already started to transition into fully digital media libraries. Literally everything ended and began with my generation. Millennials grew up with so many promises that we all thought we were going to be straight if we just followed the formula. That was never the case, bro. So now, here we are in our early 30s, mid 30s, late, some of us even in our early 40s now, still on own homes, still in apartments, still kind of just winging it in life. And it's even crazier is the fact that the government still sees millennials as children. Not realizing that the oldest millennial is in their fucking 40s, bro. We're depressed because we're in a stagnant state. You know what I'm saying? We have not been able to grow. Most millennials' lives honestly have not changed over the last 10 years. You might make a little more money than you did back in 2014, but your living circumstances and all that kind of shit, most likely, it ain't really changed much. Still living in an apartment, you either got the credit score for a house, but you don't got the income, or you got the income, but you don't got the credit. And then with the interest rates being so crazy, it's honestly cheaper to rent a house than it is to buy one. Not to mention that millennials and Gen Z are the generations that just been bombarded with information for our entire lives. Like, yes, awareness is good, but listen, man, too much of anything is a bad bad thing. And too much awareness definitely takes a toll on your mental health, man. Everyday war, genocide, famine, gas prices, interest rates, job market. We know too much. It's overwhelming. Everything's expensive now. When I was in college, I used to go to McDonald's and get a McDouble, a McChicken, a large fry, and a sweet tea for $5.35. I put that same meal in my McDonald's app cart the other day. That motherfucker was $12. And our parents had the audacity to ask us, did we have McDonald's money back in the day? Motherfucker, you mean $4? So yeah, man, if it seems like millennials and Gen Z are just the most depressed and cynical ass generations, it's because we are. For a lot of valid ass reasons. None of.
Okay, let me share another clip with you.
Being without community and being chronically alone can cause you to lose yourself and not even notice that you're losing yourself because there's no mirrors being held up to you. Community is not just company, but also reflection. One of my mutuals actually just posted a video recently. Her stitches were off, so I couldn't stitch the video, but I'll tag it down below. She was actually talking to one of her friends in a video and telling her friend, like, homegirl, you are losing yourself. I think it was such an honest conversation and a conversation that is very needed. When you have people around you, people who care enough about you to say, hey, you're slipping through the cracks. You're forgetting who you are. You guys have a strong enough bond for y'all to have these types of honest conversations. It does so much for you. When you are chronically alone, always by yourself, always in the house, isolated, like I was for the past 4 or 5 years, working remote, not really having a lot of friends, had left my last church, hadn't found a church yet. COVID was going on, and I had experienced multiple miscarriages. I was in the house staring at my 4 walls, gaining weight. Didn't even really realize that I was gaining weight. Didn't realize that I was slipping through the cracks because there was no one around me to tell me that. There was no one around me that was holding up a mirror to me because I was chronically alone. When we talk about loneliness, when we talk about being alone, when we talk about not having community, a lot of people are losing themselves because they're not around people.
Okay, here's another one.
Millennials are lonely. We're lonely. We have had the best of both worlds. We know what it is like to have a real, authentic connection with someone. We have experienced the real, true emotions behind a healthy relationship or friendship. But as we've gotten older, unfortunately, in this age of technology, we have been stripped. We have been stripped of those genuine connections. Social media has made it seem like we are connected, which we are in certain ways, don't get me wrong, but not in the ways that we need to be. Nowadays, we can just let a friend know that we are there for them, per se, just by hitting a like button or putting a little comment or a heart or the care button. But do you really care when you hit that care button? Because I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't really care. I care in real life. You see, millennials know that there's an emotional aspect being stripped of us during that exchange on social media. We know that that is fake because we've experienced the real emotions behind a true relationship, friendship, or bond we have made with someone. So we are lonely. That's why it's important to have a healthy social well-being. You want to have genuine connections in your life. You want to be able to have someone that is going to be there for you that actually cares. You want to ask your neighbor, are you okay? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling today? Millennials are lonely.
Okay.
As a millennial, I mean, you guys are not the only ones. A big reason, obviously, is because of COVID, made us very introverted and kind of got us away from, socializing with people. And at that time, before the pandemic, I was getting into my 30s. I was literally just turning 30. And before then, I was super extroverted. My social battery recharged by being around people, by talking to people. It was just an ongoing thing. I liked being around a lot of people. And then something happened during 2020 where I became more and more okay with not being around people. And I got used to being by myself. I got used to being just me and my family. I had a kid around that time, which is already going to kind of distance you from a lot of people because, you got a kid now and you got to focus on that, especially during a time like that. And so, no, it's not just a Gen Z problem. It is a across-the-board problem with a lot of different people. And I keep on hearing, find a community, find people, find groups to join or whatever, and get to know people and everything. But, I don't know. It's weird. I don't even know where to really even begin. Am I the only one who feels like this? As a millennial, I mean, you guys are not the only ones. A big reason, obviously, is because of COVID, made us...
Okay.
Loneliness is one of the hardest things to deal with when you're single. For me, I was in a relationship, in a marriage for 14 years, so suddenly becoming alone, becoming single was pretty much devastating to me. You know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to go left or right because I was so used to having somebody, you know, next to me for so long that it was really a very traumatic experience for me. But loneliness can cause a lot of people to get into a lot of trouble that they normally wouldn't get into. Loneliness is a strong emotion. It's a strong feeling. You know, it's a horrible thing to go through when you feel lonely. You might have 10, 20, 15 people in your life and 3 or 4 really close friends, and you can still be just really lonely. And a lot of people deal with loneliness when it comes to relationships, you know, with the opposite sex. You know, it's something that they battle with. You know, they end up putting themselves in situations. They might end up in abusive situations because they don't want to be alone. They may end up sleeping with people because they don't want to be alone. People even catch STDs all the time because they don't want to be alone, right? End up in bars, end up in clubs and in places you wouldn't even normally go just because you're lonely. You know, so what do you do when you're single and you're lonely, you know, but you want to live your life right, you know, but it's getting very, very difficult for you, you know, to deal with the loneliness, you know. And what I do for myself is I find something that just makes me happy. Even if I have to go back and remember some things that I used to do, you know, I try to get back involved in those things because the feeling of loneliness will pass at some point. It's just going through it. I mean, and it may happen every day. You know, it's just like getting over some kind of a drug or something like that. And I'm the perfect person to tell you about getting over drugs after spending 20 plus years on drugs. You know, you go back and forth. You know, there are moments that you feel extremely lonely and you want somebody in your life, somebody to hug, somebody to hold on to, somebody to talk to. But then there are moments that you feel such freedom that you don't feel that pressure to have to talk to somebody. You don't feel that pressure to have to communicate or to have to be intimate with somebody. It's such a freedom with being, you know, lonely, but also it's such a burden as well. So, you know, you live on both sides of the fence, but, you know, the loneliness is only going to last for a season. You know, if you begin doing things, you know, to make yourself happy, to make yourself look better, to make yourself feel better, whether it's walking, whether it's going to church, whether it's praying more, you got to find something else to make yourself happy, because the truth of the matter is I may be alone for the rest of our lives. I may never find a woman, you know, to spend the rest of my life with. You may never find a man to spend the rest of your life with. What are you going to do? You can't just sit back and be defeated and not go on with your life. You got to pick yourself back up and keep going. There's many more things in life than being in a relationship. Many more things that you can do with your life than being in a relationship with somebody else. And for a lot of us, it's hard because we've always depended on somebody to make us happy. You know, and maybe this is a time that we shouldn't even be with anybody. Maybe it's a time that we need to learn ourselves and learn how to be happy on our own. Right? So just don't let loneliness cause you to be in a situation that you wouldn't normally be in because you're lonely. Don't be sleeping around with people. Don't stick in relationships that you know are not healthy for you. Don't go to places that you know are not healthy for you. Don't do things that you know are not healthy for you because of loneliness. You know, loneliness is...
I have literally come to the conclusion that I am so terrified of dating. I don't want to date. I don't want to get married. I don't want to do anything. Men are lying, cheating. You can't express yourself, or you're arguing. What's the point? What is the point? I'm at the point where I'm over it. For what? I get to know you, you get to know me, just for you to do what? Cheat? Just for you to not text or call? Just for you to not pay attention? Just for you to not communicate? Why? And then not only that, it literally messes with your mental. when you're trying so hard to get better and to heal, and you fall in love, and you get hurt, and you want to do it again. You're tired. For what? For what? What is the point? And I feel like if I get into another relationship and it doesn't work out, for what? What is the point? What is the point? I'm so tired and I'm so sick. Over it.
Let's look further.
I did everything they said that was going to make me happy. I built a career. I got my own place. I went on solo trips like a pro. The best hotels, flying business, you name it, right? The works. And I stayed independent. But no one told me about how lonely I was going to be on those trips. Being successful looks really good on the outside, but... and I'm proud of everything that I did. Don't get me wrong. Like, alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of all of my accomplishments, but it was very lonely. I feel very lonely all the time. Success doesn't check in on you when you're spiraling at home. Doesn't check in with you when you're having a bad day. Doesn't check in with you when or just when, you miss your family back home. Don't get me wrong. Being strong got me very far in my career, and I'm very proud of everything that I've done, but I'm done pretending that I'm okay, because I'm not.
You gotta go out. I know you don't have no money. Go to the park, go to the beach, okay, go to a bar and order a club soda and sit and watch the TVs. Go to a library, get a library card if you can get $1, and go and read books, okay? And I believe that there are places where you can get free bed if you go to a bakery. Ask them if they have anything on display that you're trying to get rid of. Don't be embarrassed to be alone. Don't be embarrassed to spend time with yourself. When you get out of the shower, turn on music and spend time moisturizing your body. Get a ring light and one of those metal things and just spend time, pulling off all the blackheads and the pimples on your face. Go for a walk for at least 20 to 25 minutes. It doesn't matter. Maybe pop some headphones on. I started this thing where I started skipping in public. I would put my headphones in and I would skip around my neighborhood. And it helped with my anxiety. It helped with me being fearful of the way that people perceived me. When you start actively spending time with yourself, you learn to enjoy everything about yourself so much more that the idea of somebody disliking who you are, it becomes arbitrary. The goal, you have to, what else can you do? Oh my gosh. Fresh linen, fresh blankets, wash laundry, fold laundry. The process that it takes to actually fold clothes, it slows time down so much and actually allows you to appreciate the time that you're spending alone. Don't watch YouTube, don't scroll through TikTok. Take time to just disconnect from everything and be so by yourself that all you can do is just be with you. Because when you're with you, the peace that you feel from being with yourself, man, I wish I could, oh my gosh. I love to be. Y'all, in the last couple of days, if you even go back and look at my TikTok, I've been in the bed. I have been in the bed. I have been relaxing. I don't have work. I've been off. I have been so relaxed and so with myself. Yes, I've gone out to make some money. Cool, that's fine. That's great. I have been so relaxed that I'm looking for new ways to find joy for me. And then once you do that, once you start picking up the hobbies, once you start picking up the things that you enjoy, you recognize all of the things that you like about yourself. When you go out and do them, you're in spaces where people who share the same interest are also doing those things. And it makes it easier for you to potentially align with somebody. Simple as that. I'm not saying you should be doing these things to learn how to align with the people in your future. I'm saying the more work that you spend on yourself, the people that get the privilege of coming into your circle, 9 times out of 10 are going to be on the same wavelength as you. You don't have to work towards anything when you work on you. at all. It's that simple. It really is.
Well, one of the things that I find great company is staying busy and also having a routine. You know, I very rarely feel lonely. I may feel lonely maybe 3 or 4 times out of a year. That's like every 3 or 4 months. I feel that pain of loneliness. You know, I think it's very important for people to join community churches and fellowship churches, non-denominational because they're spiritual, not religious. And that's where, for people who don't have family or friends, that's where you should find friends that can become like family. Or you have a lot of the fellowship meetings, like I joined OA, Overeaters Anonymous, and that's, you know, how many of us have not experienced emotional eating? Sometimes you're just eating and you're not even hungry, but there's something emotional going on. So I found me a nice little community, the OA group, and then you can join Al-Anon, or you can join AA, or you can join Moderation Management. I always recommend finding a fellowship or a Christian church that have activities, because that's where you'll find people who are more like-minded, especially if you're on God and Jesus Christ team and you're trying to live a Christian lifestyle. Now, we also have to understand that the Millennials and Generation Z, they need to stop being so hypersensitive about everything. Now, I get it. We live in a time where words can hurt and social media can be toxic, but constantly have to tiptoe around every little thing. You have to sugarcoat. You have to, like walking on a tightrope. You know, you have to feel the way they feel, see things the way that's not going to happen. That's exhausting. And instead of getting offended or shutting down, how about they start having some real conversations? You know? Think about the messiness of life, and they can learn from each other. Vulnerability is strength. When we open up about our struggles, we can actually connect on a on a deeper level. It's okay to feel lonely sometimes, because we all do. But instead of letting that loneliness push us apart, why not find a reason to reach out to each other? Like I said, I am focusing on building sisterhoods. My dream is to live the Delaney sister lifestyle. Check it out on YouTube. I'll say the Delaney sisters. And that's my dream. That's where I'm at. I don't want no more ball and chain, no more marriage. I'm not into none of that. Did it 2.5 times. No, thank you. I love freedom too much. I love peace. I love having energy, and I love being able to make so much more progress when I fly solo. So why not send a text to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, or join a group that you've been thinking about? I mean, let's keep it real. Loneliness is a growing epidemic, and it's a reality that Millennials and Generation Z are facing more than any other generation in history. Studies reveal that these two groups report higher levels of loneliness, anxiety, and depression than any of their predecessors. So why is this happening? Social media, while connecting us in some ways, it often amplifies feelings of isolation. You know, I can think about the baby boomers, even the clubbing. I'm going to make a video about that too. Clubbing is not clubbing anymore. You go to a club, nobody really dance. Everybody's standing up against the wall. Nobody wants to converse or mingle. Everybody got their phone out. It's ridiculous. Now, I love social media because it helped to educate us about what men are really like, what women are really like. And for those who didn't have a father in the home, you now have big brothers, you have uncles, you have godfathers teaching you how men are supposed to treat you, what you should tolerate, what you shouldn't. Now, social media is awesome for sharing moments, but it can also make us feel like we're missing out. So by reaching out, maybe a coffee date, you know, like I said, I think you got several different communities to belong to. There's non-denominational churches that have volunteer work, when you're meeting different people. There are so many outlets and so many options that you have. And I think that the Millennial and Generation Z, they have to remember to lighten up a little. Life is too short to take everything so seriously. Please. And make sure your boundaries are reasonable and sensible, and you're not weaponizing it to control and dominate people. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.